Hello everyone and welcome to In the Newsroom, where we bring you the behind-the-scenes look on how we deliver the news to you. It's the first week of October, during which many Koreans enjoyed a long holiday, which extended from last Saturday to this Wednesday, spending quality time of family bonding and relaxation. Well, that wasn't really the case for many of our reporters here in the newsroom, as they were in the field covering a wide range of stories throughout this week. Well, earlier in the day, I had a chance to talk to them, and here's what they said.
Oh, so when did you do this?
It was this Monday, October 1st, which was day off due to the Chuseok holidays, and then fortunately, I was at the office working, and then BBC called me up out of the blue, out of the nowhere, and they asked me to do an interview on air live for Psy's Gangnam Style, because Psy topped the UK chart there in London, and it was and it's the first time.
It's really pretty.
Yeah, it's via this laptop with Skype and this little camera there here, and this is a little studio in RS Explorer. And it was pretty funny because there's no script. I just to go impromptu all the time.
What about this?
Jisun was on BBC.
Wow.
Is that Sunday, was it?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
How do I look?
You look fantastic.
Yeah.
And it was actually my second time.
Yeah, it was back in July, wasn't it?
Right, for the Olympics. Back then, they were asking me to explain why the Koreans are so great in archery, because their seventh consecutive win in women's team event. And this time, it was Psy who topped the UK chart for the first time ever, the first ever Korean to actually be on the number one on the UK chart.
First Asian, or was it the Korean?
The first Korean.
Oh, first Korean.
I mean, it's great that we see you here in the BBC. I mean, that's great. And also, there's been a growing interest by the foreign media outlets on K-pop and Gangnam Style craze. I mean, hopefully this could be just the beginning of what is more to come. And that's great. I mean, this happened during Chuseok. So did everyone manage to spend some time with their families and friends, although most of us were out here in the office? Seung-ha?
Yeah, I had a good time with my family as well as with my relatives, but at the end of the Chuseok holidays, I had to plan for my in-depth coverage.
I see, lots to do, right? And I hear you went to your hometown.
Yeah, Busan. I actually got last-minute tickets because obviously all the metro and the bus and train tickets were sold out weeks before, and luckily I got it, so I went to my hometown, Busan.
Great. Ji-hye.
Well, I was working.
And Jisun, I know you were at the office doing this thing. This is great. I mean, we've seen quite a number of our packages, lots to do with what's happening during Chuseok, what locals are doing as well as foreigners. And Lee-an, you went to a very special traditional market.
Right.
Why traditional market in the first place?
Well, first of all, I was raised in Busan, and there's a lot of traditional markets there, so I was used to going to traditional markets, so I had an initial interest in it. And then now back in April, the government, in an effort to help traditional markets survive, made this new regulation banning all the discount stores to close down 2
Large
Sundays a
retail
month.
stores, right.
And the truth is that a lot of retail stores were wiggling out of that regulation, saying that we're not considered a discount store or a large retail store. So I wanted to, before the holidays, when everyone's shopping for the gifts or for food, I wanted to bring that into light and show how much traditional markets, even in this peak season, were not doing so well.
In years past, the streets of traditional markets would be bustling with holiday shoppers picking out last-minute gifts for relatives. But today, it looks more like a ghost town. Lee's store is located in Seoul's Yeongdeungpo district. Within a 30-minute walk from the market, there are 7 discount stores, with the closest one being a 10-minute walk away. In an effort to revitalize traditional markets, the government in April banned major retailers from doing business 2 Sundays per month. But many stores have been able to wiggle out of the new law through loopholes, and many have continued their normal operating hours. Most would agree that the government efforts have been mostly ineffective. So what to do? Experts say that the traditional markets should find new creative ways to win back customers.
So how was the atmosphere there? It was on the eve of Chuseok that you went there. How was it?
Well, I went to the place that had the most number of discount stores to see like the worst case scenario for this kind of problem. And it was really sad. Like, first of all, a lot of people were very, very unhappy that we were even filming there.
뭐 찍는 거예요?
저희 그냥 여기 스케치 네네 네, 하고
그러진 않아요?
상인분들 인터뷰 한두 명은 하고 싶어서
인터뷰는 안 돼요. 그냥 간단한 스케치는 괜찮은데
네.
스케치 저 인터뷰는 싫어요. 장사가 안 되니까.
뭐라고 하시는 거예요? 아니 저 여기 상인분들 찍지 말래요? 철수하시나 벌써? 나 인터뷰를 따야 되는데 어떻게 하지 그럼? 통일시장 It was really hard and it was really like heartbreaking in a way. I was talking to one of the ladies that've been working for like the past 25 years and I mentioned that to them and saying that it's really unfortunate that a lot of people are just moving to the large retail stores. And she got a little bit teary and so did I, and we were getting a little emotional. But yeah, she didn't even want to do the interview actually, but then I persuaded her saying like, you know, people should know about this and like how severe the problem is. And she said like a little bit reluctantly, but she still said for the cause that she would do it. 아줌마 여기 상인회가 어디예요? 네? 여기 시장 상인회.
상인회? 상인회 사무실?
네, 사무실이에요.
맑은 거에서 조금 더 가면 이제 옷장사들 노점에 쫙 팔잖아?
네네.
이렇게 이쪽으로 꼬부라지면은 바로 거기 있어.
아줌마 저 아리랑 TV에서 기자 유리안 기자라고 하는데요. 요즘 이제 장사 잘 되시는지 안 되시는지 좀 몇 가지 여쭤봐도 될까요? 저 어때요 요즘? 대형마트 때문에 영업 규제 됐는데도 좀 안 되잖아요. 영업 규제가. 그래서 좀 이번 추석 전에 장사가 작년에 비해서 훨씬 안 좋아졌어요.
그리고
네.
우리는 또 올라가 대목 밑에는 이 장사는 더 안 돼.
아, 더 안 돼요?
더 안 돼요 올라가. 평일이나.
아 여기 바로 카메라 선배 계시는데 그 한마디만 저희가 뉴스가 이런 걸 알리면 좀 좋잖아요. 이제 전통시장이 좀 죽어가고 있다는데 이게 좀 중요성을 위해서 저희가 지금 기획 기사를 하거든요. 선배 저 섭외했는데 저 좀 인터뷰 해주신대요. 말 또 하셔도 되고요. 부담 하나도 안 가시고.
마이크 좀만 더 넣어.
I mean, I think it's it's a nice, bold move of you to actually approach her in an emotional and, you know, from a very genuine way.
Right.
I guess she bought that.
Yeah.
And how about, I mean, this ongoing shutdown of these traditional markets? I mean, the numbers are shrinking, largely because of the large retail stores. But good news is that not every traditional markets are on the downhill. Some of them
Right.
are battling it out against, large retail Goliaths in the country. So you've been to one of them. How are they holding up?
Well, this one particular traditional market that I went to is called Tongin Traditional Market. And they have, this one store actually had a really innovative idea, which was by bringing the really true Korean traditional aspect to the market. So they had like these traditional coins that were used back in the Korea dynasty, like they're called yeopjeon in Korean, and you purchase them with the Korean cash, and then you go around the market and you pick out the types of food that you want. It's like a buffet, and they're really cheap. Well, like I had $5 and I was able to get like up to 6 side dishes, and they give you like free soup and free rice. So, I mean, that kind of idea, innovative idea, right? In the traditional markets, the biggest thing is that a lot of just the old people go to it, like, the usual customers. And that kind of ideas we're able to bring in the younger generation.
Yeah, so I also heard that office workers also go there, not even during the holidays, to have lunch there, and like that actually attracts more, customers to the traditional market. So yeah, I've heard about that.
I guess the food is great there.
restaurant.
It was really good. I was
you
like,
tried it?
there was yeah, I did it myself actually. My standard was with the food that I was able to get, what I just said, like how with just $5 I was able to get up to 6 side dishes. And they were really great after. We were like basically like swallowing everything in because we were so hungry. But it was really good, yeah.
You did the stand-up in front of the restaurant. Why? Because most of our stand-ups are about, the very symbolic way of showing what you're trying to say and try to, transcend to our audiences. So why in front of that restaurant in particular?
Well, because first of all, it was showing a modern aspect of the traditional market. Yes, there was a traditional idea behind it, but the cafe itself looked a little bit modern, which was a way of attracting, like I said, the younger generation. And behind me were actually customers or visitors that were all like young, like teens. And this is a really new scene in the traditional market that a lot of people agree should be seen more. So I thought it was a really good place to do my stand-up.
So where is it located? I feel like going myself. Yeah, where is it?
It's in Jonglo district.
Far from our office, but sometimes maybe.
It's definitely worth going with your friends or on a date.
Right, I mean, we can definitely feel the cultural essence there, and of course, their touristic value there as well, I think. Speaking of tourists and attracting more foreigners to the place, I hear that Seung-ha was out in the street of Myeongdong. I mean, it's one of the most busiest shopping districts in Korea. What was it like? Why were you stuck in the crowd?
Actually, I had to cover a story on Chinese tourists coming to Korea during their National Day holidays.
Right, so the timing of this year's holidays make it tempting for Chinese tourists to travel overseas.
Yes, this year China got 8 days off for the so-called Golden Week, which ends this Sunday. And according to the Korea Tourism Organization, during this period, over 100,000 Chinese tourists are expected, which is up 36% from last year. And it's estimated that they will spend over 200 billion won, or roughly $180 million during their stays in Korea. I chose Myeongdong because that's the most frequent destination of Chinese tourists. Last year, 70% of tourists from China, they went to Myeongdong. So I had
Yeah, you had to go there.
I had to go there. So I went there on Tuesday, and the streets was packed with Chinese tourists. And our cameraman, he had to place this camera, and he had no space to actually stand and shoot things. So it was an amazing scene to watch, and I knew that this is how famous Myeongdong is among Chinese tourists. Yeah.
I mean, this was during the Chuseok holiday season, so it must have been very hard to book an interview with anybody. How did you manage to do that?
Actually, the Chuseok holidays ended on Monday, but then on Wednesday, Korea celebrated our National Foundation Day, so only one day, which is Tuesday, that I actually could go out and cover this story. So I had some hard times finding person to talk to, but then somehow, fortunately, I had it done in one day.
Well, you speak Chinese for once, so that's a good way of attraction.
Plus, yes.
Yeah.
Did you manage to get to talk to the Chinese tourists in the streets? I mean, your command of Chinese must have helped a great deal.
It was easier for me to actually go to Chinese people and approach them, because when I talked to them in Chinese, they were very willing to talk to me, and even in front of the camera. So I think that helped me a lot.
你好，你们是中国人吗？可以简单的采访一下，可以吗？
他英语很好。
哦，你会说英语吗？一点点。啊，好啊。就林多别说，采访一下可以吗？简单的。你们看，你们买了这么多东西，买了什么？衣服和化妆品。Innisfree。你们简单的采访可以吗？多久？1分钟。啊，等一下，请等一下。Are you from Singapore or from China? While I'm shooting, can you guys take photo behind me? Because I'm gonna talk about taking photo. 不是采访 I'm gonna shoot. 不是 background. 背景。对。我们就在这里就可以了。谢谢。
I mean, looking around, we have quite a number of multilingual reporters here. I mean, for one, Sisan.
I speak Spanish and French, and like Hanul also speaks Chinese, and I think it's really helpful that you could just interview directly in their own native language, and they feel more friendlier.
Comfortable too.
I mean, so why a sudden surge in Chinese tourists this time around?
Actually, it's nothing surprising because it's part of a larger trend. In recent years, there has been a steady rise in the number of Chinese tourists, and the reasons behind that are that the short distance between the two countries and the economic boom in China, and also the popularity of K-culture in China, and also the Korean government has put a lot of efforts into alleviating the requirements when Chinese tourists apply for visas. So it's now much more easier for them to apply for visas when they want to come to Korea. So all these factors have contributed to the surge in the number of Chinese tourists, I would say.
And then last year there was the earthquake and tsunami in Japan, so a lot of Chinese tourists they toured to Korea, and now the Chinese tourists are a huge source of revenue in the tourism industry. So I think last year the Chinese tourists spent more than the Japanese tourists. Their spending per capita surpassed that of the Japanese, for about 3 million won versus the Japanese 2 million won a visit. So, and think about the billion people living in China.
Yeah, I know. I mean, with this whole Sino-Japanese tension going on with the territorial dispute, I think, more of an anti-Japanese sentiment somehow draws more people to Korea, which is good news for us. But, but hopefully, right, okay. Going elsewhere around the world, of course. Ji-hye, you went to Vietnam.
Yes, I was in Vietnam last week. Because this year marks the 20th anniversary of diplomatic ties between Korea and Vietnam, I was doing stories there, and the stories cover various aspects of the diplomatic ties, from the ODA, Korea's ODA, official development assistance, to Vietnam, from how Korean companies are viewing the Vietnamese market and what is expected in the future between the economic and diplomatic ties between Korea and Vietnam. The traditional musical instrument named biam tum that you can see behind me used to be a thing of the past, as the technique to restore it or even play it no longer exists in Vietnam. But with the help of Korea, the instrument is now well preserved at the Hue Royal Antiquities Museum. From now on, the agency is planning to engage in aid projects that assist the Vietnamese government's efforts to develop the country. It also plans to further concentrate its support in the Central Highlands, where 90% of the country's poor live. With such efforts, Korea expects to build stronger ties with Vietnam. As you can see behind me, commuters take ferries to and from their offices. However, once the Vinton Bridge project is complete, the transport system will become much more convenient for people who are commuting to Hanoi City. And as free trade agreement talks between Korea and Vietnam are ongoing, experts expect two-way trade and human resource exchanges to get a boost. Hwang Ji-hye, Arirang News, Hanoi.
Doing stories overseas, it's always hard. Anything can happen. Unexpected events like what you just said happens. Yeah. Like the traffic conditions or the unexpected weather conditions, and some people lose their passports, equipment gets stolen. So many things can happen. Did you go through any of those tough challenges?
I was there for 7 days, but because I spent 2 days in the plane, I had 5 days, and every day I had a story to cover, so it was really the time that I spent in the plane and on the roads were,
projects that assist the country's development.
네, 알겠습니다. 도착하시면 전화 주세요. 네.
Other than that, I guess my sources were all very cooperative. They were very helping. They were trying to show what's really going on in Vietnam in terms of the assistance, the relationship between Korea and Vietnam, and also how well they're doing, like the Korean companies. So.
우리 저 현장 잘 스케치 하셨고 인터뷰 충분히 많이 하셨나요? 네, 많이 했습니다. 더 필요 없으신가요 이제?
뭐 차관님도 해주시고.
아 예, 뭐 더 부탁했으면 제가 또 더 섭외할 수도 있었는데.
잘 되니까 저 물어와 주시죠. 그런
기도했으면 그 기도가 이루어지므로 실천.
I had a pleasant experience, although the weather was so bad. And
How bad?
it's so hot and humid there, and also and the traffic is crazy there. Like so many motorcycles, and like they run to each other, although they don't bump. It's a miracle that they don't bump to each other. But I think that's why also why Korea is concentrating on building the infrastructure there, because the traffic conditions are so bad. Most of the assistance of Korea is put into building infrastructure in Vietnam, like building roads, bridges, etc. So it was really good to see how Korea is, contributing to the development of Vietnam.
Yes, definitely.
So what was your favorite story of your 5 series packages?
I really can't pick one. I mean, it was all very fun. I really feel something with all the packages that I've done there. So
I see that you're exhausted out of your mind. Maybe you can use this weekend to really, recuperate and
fresh.
Yes, definitely. All right, it's been another hectic week here in the newsroom, but thank you guys for another great contribution, your stories. It was great. Hopefully I'll see you guys next week with more stories.
All right.
All right. Have a great day. Bye. Asia's largest film festival is currently underway in Korea's port city of Busan, featuring more than 300 films from more than 75 countries around the world. Our Connie Lee is there to cover this story for us, and she files us this report.
Hi, in the newsroom viewers, I'm Connie Lee, and I'm here at the Busan International Film Festival. Now, right now, we're at a prime time right now because it's right before the stars are entering the Busan Cinema Center for the grand opening ceremony. Now, here you see hundreds of fans lined up, and they've been here since early this afternoon. And you see, security is obviously very, very tight right now. We can't even go anywhere else beyond our perimeters. And so this year, the festival is premiering 93 films, and a total of 300 foreign films will be showcased this year in the 10-day event. Now, we have people from Korea, from Japan, and from China who are here to see some of the stars come onto the red carpet. Now, some of the stars include Lee Byung-hun, Jang Dong-gun, and let's see, Zhang Ziyi. They're all expected to be here. And we also heard a bit of news today that some presidential candidates, Korean presidential candidates, Park Geun-hye and Moon Jae-in, are also expected to come. So you can just imagine the types of people that are here today. We have the young and the old. And so I'm very excited. Now we gotta head back to the red carpet to get our video footage of the stars coming in.
This year marks the 20th anniversary of Korea-Vietnam.
옛날에 고려 시대 때부터 뭐 그런 건데 이게 뭐
그 시설도 열악하고 모든 것이
아내가 되게 예민하신.
The area near Ewha